Hello, good morning. My name is Teacher Brianna and I am going to bring you another short clip. And today's clip is going to be different from the rest of my series because I have been watching many of my mock 1B lessons, which is my country, my culture, and I feel like I really just need to talk about some things that are pretty common in all of these lessons that are not good techniques, and I want to help you be the best you can be. So I think the only way to do this is to actually talk about my country, my culture a little bit, but I'm still going to talk about general techniques, but specifically related to the lesson. So I have some do's and some don'ts. So in our intermediate levels, you still need to introduce the vocabulary. However, you don't need to have the student parrot it multiple times back at you. So when you see the red underlined words, those are new vocabulary. So you should say country. If the student says it correct on the first time, then I would ask a follow-up question like, do you know any countries? This will require the student to use a sentence and hopefully apply the word country in the sentence, leading to 2 repetitions. The goal here is 2 repetitions of the vocabulary words, but it doesn't necessarily mean they have to keep repeating it back and forth. The important part is introducing that word to make sure that the student can read it before you ask them to read an entire sentence with the word. The next one is, please define the vocabulary word. However, don't parrot the definition. Please don't ask the student to repeat the definition. That teaches them nothing. So when I am defining a word like country, you can say, and use a prop maybe, a country has land, people, language, culture, and government. Okay, this is going to skip down here real quick. Do not use Tiananmen Square to explain government. There are so many better images that you can use to explain government. Tiananmen Square is not the image that you should use. There is actually a picture, and I'm going to pull it up on Google right now, that talks about, or that shows you government. That is a much better image. Let's see, Chinese government. So that's what you're going to want to Google search, and you're going to click on images, and you will notice that Tiananmen Square is not coming up in the first few pictures. This is a great picture to use to explain government for our student. So don't use Tiananmen Square. So back to defining vocabulary. When you are defining the vocabulary word, you just want to explain it like I did. Then ask a follow-up question like, do you know any other countries? What countries do you know? What countries have you visited? Things like that. That will help define country and make sure the student understands. Same thing with represents. So you can use the beautiful YouTube explanation. When I see this, I think of China. Or when I see this, I think of America. That means represents, but you have to tie it back to represents. So now you say, this represents America. So what do you think of when you see this? Ask the student. Hopefully they'll say, I think of Disney. So you could say, what does this represent? And they should say, this represents Disney. Good, now you've done that example. So whichever flag you did not use to explain, you should go back and go to that flag. What does this represent? This represents China. Okay, so now the student's set up for the activity, and you should just jump right in with the question, what does this represent? And circle one picture. and they should be able to use the sentence because you introduced it, you did one together, and then they did one on their own. That's called the I do, we do, you do approach. And if you use that technique, when you get to the activity, the student should be able to complete probably most all of them on their own. So let's talk about the next one, which we've been hinting at this entire time. Ask open questions. Don't ask closed questions. So you're going to ask the student, did you go to school today? Well, the student's going to say yes, end of sentence. Or no, end of sentence. Ask other questions like, what is your favorite subject in school? Or what is your favorite class in school? Ask questions like, what is your favorite landmark? Why? What do the colors on the flag mean? What is your favorite, I don't know, country? Ask them questions like that. Don't just ask, have you been to the Great Wall? Yes, I have. Have you seen the terracotta warriors? Yes, I have. Ask them what they like about it. Ask them when they went. Ask them who they went with. Ask conversation questions that require a full sentence. You should also try and ask questions like, what is your nationality? Where are you from? Questions that tie directly into the lesson. All right, the next one. Give instructions. Don't mime. Okay? This is important. We need to associate our TPR with our words. If I look at you and just do this, does that help you understand English? No. We're not studying to mime. We are studying to learn English. So instead, you can use your TPR. Full sentence, please. Use a full sentence, please. Can you make that a sentence? Any one of those instructions can go along with that TPR. That's important. So same thing with this. Okay, tie it to a question. What does this mean? Or which one is natural? So this way the student is associating these motions with something else. Please give rewards. The My Country, My Culture does not have a reward slide, and that was an oversight in the lessons, but please make sure you introduce your reward in the beginning of the lesson and give at least 2 rewards throughout the lesson. Some good ideas: give out different landmark cards. That's always fun. Or have the student travel around China. So use a map of China with different spots along the way and have the student travel along China. That's another very creative reward. Come up with your own creative reward. Try not to copy the ones in YouTube if you can help it. Have props. That's also important. You need a minimum of 2 props for the lesson. We already talked about Tiananmen Square. I think it is good to have that plant to explain natural and that hammer to explain made by people. This is an important point. Mastery of grammar. The Great Wall. When was that built? Today or in the past? Well, it was built in the past. So when we talk about the past, we say was or were. And I've seen a lot of classes where the teacher will teach me the Yellow Mountains are natural. I've had some say the Yellow Mountains is natural. Make sure your grammar is correct. The Yellow Mountains are natural. That's correct. The Great Wall was built by people. That's how you need to teach it. The Great Wall was built by people. And the terracotta warriors were built by people. If you teach me is, that's not helping me as a student because in Chinese there are no tenses in verbs. So I am most likely going to use present tense all the time, and if you teach me this sentence that requires past tense in present tense, I am going to be so confused in the upcoming lessons when I have a new teacher that uses the correct tense. So please, please be mindful of your tenses when you're teaching those target sentences. So anyway, hopefully that helps you with your My Country, My Culture lesson. I appreciate your time. This one was a little longer than my usual videos, but hopefully it was very helpful. See you next time. Bye.